Welcome to the Amanda Effect, where I thrive to inspire, encourage, and uplift you through life's journey. I'm here to help educate you on self-improvement in life's different categories, including family, careers, relationships, mental health, and so much more. So let's get started because I'm excited for you to feel the Amanda Effect. Hello, and welcome to the Amanda Effect with Topher.
Hi, guys.
Besides Goofy,
I'm great.
he apparently has had plenty of coffee and he is currently sipping on a Mountain Dew. So buckle up, folks. Here we go. I'm not prepared for him. He already just made fun of me before I started about how I say hello.
Yes, I did. It's okay. I mean, I told you, I still look like I'm directing traffic when I wave at everybody.
I don't know why I do that though. Like it just, I just started when I even was doing random videos. That's just what I said. I always said it twice, and now it's just a thing. So
I always say, "Hey there," so it's okay.
Is it
on all of my videos? I'm like, "Hey there."
You post videos? Have y'all seen these? I haven't seen these videos.
Yeah.
I just realized I forgot to put chapstick on again. So
It's 2 weeks for you.
I know I'm tripping, but my lips are also like on the biggest of trash today. So, well, this winter, period. Anyways, like my curls. Quick subject change. I always point out my hair. So my lighting today is terrible. So I'm sorry, guys. We're recording this a little later in the afternoon. I don't usually have these issues, and I haven't gotten curtains for my windows yet. So this will now force me. I have the rods, but I didn't buy the curtains because curtains are unnecessarily expensive.
They
One
are.
of those things. So we have an awesome topic for you. I actually was inboxed this topic, and I'm super excited about it, mostly because it goes along with I think again, and something that needs to be talked about in a healthy environment because it's a real thing that happens. We're talking about colorism. This was sparked by an episode of Basketball Wives. Are they even calling it Basketball Wives LA anymore? Because none of them live in LA.
Yeah, I mean, it's still called it's not called Basketball Wives LA. It's just called Basketball Wives because there's only, I think, Evelyn and the new girl and Jackie. That the three of them are the only ones.
Jackie's living in Sacramento, she said.
That's right. Yeah.
So no, they don't. I don't even know, but yeah.
So yeah, it's just called Basketball Wives these days.
So yeah, so we want to talk about that, and the young lady is going to be joining us. Her name is Angela, and she brought this to my attention. I'm super excited to talk about it because, like I said, it's just something that needs to be talked about in a healthy environment, and that's just what we do here. Well, that's what we try to do here. That is always the goal. We'll say that. But I definitely don't want to get started without mentioning a couple of current topics that's happening, and I feel like who better to talk about it than me and Topher. I know, right? Makes sense. These Dr. Seuss books, these 6 books that were pulled and no longer being sold. Okay, let me just start off by the culture didn't ask for this. We didn't ask to cancel these. We asked for equality and justice. We did not ask for Dr. Seuss books to be taken out the shelves that technically are not hardly even being read. These 6 books, Topher, have you heard of them? Did you hear about them? I have not heard about them until I read the article. I was like, oh,
It really actually just really became a thing because it blew up on TikTok. And that's how it just like really spun out. But I mean, that's how a lot of things happen these days. But I can respect the fact that the estate is the one who introduced this idea saying that that they need to be removed and why they needed to be removed. And they already know that their books and their brand in general already progressed and technically conform to what we would like to see in the world anyhow. And so, or at least like headed that way. And they were just like, hey, these 6 they're wrong. They don't really belong in our brand anymore. So they are pulling them.
Right. And I absolutely, I love and respect that. This is something that I don't think should have been a problem. I think it should have been celebrated on all levels because they took a look at them. They're like, no, these are not cool. Let's pull them. We are like, all right, bet, that's good. They shouldn't be on the shelves. Everybody should have agreed to that because that it doesn't fit their brand. Yes, there was a in there, there's the aspect of yes, it was a different time when he wrote those. This is not an excuse, people. That's just what it was. It was acceptable to them back then. And so he wrote them. But these are not popular books. These are not books that are in schools. I'm not certain if I've ever seen any of these books, the names of them or anything, heard these stories. So this is not something that's going on still today. They're like, these books are not good. They don't fit our brand. We've written so many other wonderful, amazing things. So these can just go. And they're not selling. So it's not like people are buying these books either. So let's just call it a good business decision and move on. The media absolutely wanted that to be an issue. It did blow up on TikTok because Gen Zs are on one with the canceling culture. And I think they need to start, conferring with us millennials before they start saying stuff. Because we're like, no, we didn't need that. That's fine, y'all. That was
It's not even that. It's just I think that they are just a fearless generation. And
Mhm.
they are a fearless generation, they're an aggressive generation. And if they don't like something or if they want to know more information about something, they are going to challenge you.
I would like to replace the word aggressive with passionate. Passion can absolutely come off as aggression, but I think that they get so serious about something that they take it too far. I will agree to that.
So which at that point sometimes it turns into
Yeah,
aggressive.
passion can turn into aggressive. Absolutely. That's what I said. But I think that they're a passive generation that either they can use it in a constructive way or an aggressive way.
Yep.
Okay. So
Fair.
yeah, and I still don't understand why we're canceling Eminem, but that's
My
a whole
mother-in-law,
topic.
she brought us the new M&Ms, like the orange cream, and I
First of
was like,
all, I meant the rapper, not the candy. You
oh,
weirdo.
I was like, what?
No. First of all, why would we be canceling M&Ms? They literally include everybody. But when they need to bring back his crispy M&Ms, just saying Hershey.
All right. And outside of that, you can't cancel Eminem.
I don't understand why they're canceling him now. Is my problem.
I don't care. You can't cancel somebody who wrote Stan. You can't. You cannot.
That's a whole nother topic. We're not getting in that. We are gonna do a music episode though, by the way.
That's cool.
I don't know how I got to season 2 without doing a music episode, but we are absolutely doing that. Matter of fact, write it in the calendar now. We're gonna start off April with music because we got March all taken care of. There you go. Hold me accountable. Make sure you type that up. Email it to me. Okay, let's get started on our topic of the day, which is colorism. I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest. Her name is Angela, like I said earlier, and she's really the one who brought this to my attention and asked if I could talk about it, and I invited her on. So welcome to the Amanda Effect, Angela.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hi. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, just so my audience gets to know you a little better.
My name is Angela. I'm from Queens, New York. I'm a home entrepreneur. I was about to try to say how do you say it?
Mompreneur?
Mompreneur.
How do you say it?
Mompreneur, I think.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what do you do? What's your business?
I run a clothing store online.
Awesome. I feel a collaboration, but I'm not gonna force it. I
was gonna promote, but I tried to promote on Clubhouse, and they were like, "No, this ain't it."
Oh no, go ahead, promote.
Go ahead.
What's your website? I'll throw it up real quick.
GlossyAesthetics.com.
Wait, say it one more time.
GlossyAesthetics.com.
Glossy?
No, Bossy.
Bossy. I can
Bossy
hear
Aesthetics. Yep.
Aesthetics. Somebody spell aesthetics.
AESTHETICS. I mean CS. Yeah.
If it's wrong, don't hurt me. I do not do that. Right there?
Yes. No, with the S.
Awesome.
BossyAesthetics.com.
You
With
missed the
a
S at
yes.
the end.
That's fine. We can fix it.
That's
That's
cool.
cool.
We totally got this. No, that's perfect. So you run Bossy Aesthetics, you're a mom, and you live in Queens.
I live in Columbus, Ohio right now, but I'm from Queens, New York.
Awesome, awesome. I absolutely love that you really reached out and asked me to talk about this because I think it's amazing. It's something that I have the privilege of not to really think about on a regular basis. So I really enjoy when other people bring things to my perspective so I can learn and I can grow because I'm sure that there's so many other people out there who feel the same. So won't you go ahead and tell me how you felt watching the episode and what happened? Because I did have to go back and watch it. And I definitely have some things to say, but I want 100% hear from you first.
Yeah, well, I've been watching the show for years. I've been a longtime fan of the show. And I saw what she went through, a couple of other cast members went through. The colorism kind of didn't have this much exposure when the show first came out, and the other women, they went through it too. Some of them don't want to speak up. Some of them have spoken up since OG has. But I think it's been so important and important to talk about on this panel too, because you have the platform for that. So I think it's important to just talk about how we're feeling about it, because when I saw it, it kind of opened up wounds for me that I had growing up, because I experienced some stuff similar, not to the extent that she went through, but like just to see how far it went with her on television, like it kind of couldn't have been ignored any longer. So
I
yeah,
I
we
I
could talk about
agree.
it.
So forgive me, give us the recap on exactly what happened quickly, so we know, like on the show, basketball wise, how that started, how this accusation came about.
So the accusation came about because anytime that that OG was responding to, whether it could have been like playful shade, light shade, or like just a diss in general, and if she would respond, she sometimes basically would like vocally make a threat. So like she said to Phoebe last season that, like you can catch this fade, I'll break your jaw. And then she had made a few comments to Kristen, and then she had also made.
She told Kristen she was gonna break her jaw.
Yes, and then she told Phoebe that she could catch this fade about a song that
Yeah.
Phoebe, had made
Yes.
allegedly about her in her fake clothes. And so, but then she never got physical in the show until Evelyn was chasing after Cece and she pushed her. Now, I love Evelyn, but when she pushed her, that told Evelyn to basically keep it moving. Now, in that situation, Evelyn's the type of person that she really don't care who you are. If you're gonna fight, you'll fight, and if she gets beat up, she gets beat up, and more than likely she'll probably fight you again. And
love how we talk about like we know them on a regular basis. My girl ain't gonna play with nobody. Sorry.
But
it's been years now. I think we know.
When she pushed them into those those bushes, that let Evelyn know, like, she used to play football. She is out of your weight class. So
the point was made.
Yeah. And now, do I feel like when it continued, just like the back and forth things and stuff like that, when the girls said that they didn't feel safe around OG is when OG really pressed into the fact of she was the only cast member who was excluded from the reunion. And at this point, she's always being labeled as aggressive, this, that, and the third. So why is she the one who has been, singled out when every season Evelyn has gotten into some sort of physical altercation? Every season, Jackie has been involved in some sort of nonsense. Every season, Malaysia has been involved in something. And when Tammy was on the show, Tammy was always involved in something. So it's just a little confusing, so I can understand where she's coming from. Like, these women have actually put hands on people, thrown bottles, thrown tables, this, that, and the third, and they still can comfortably sit there on the couch amongst their, castmates. So that part of it I understood. But in the last week's episode, it was nice because she did touch base on her childhood and how in the first grade a teacher told her that she would never amount to anything, all because she was a black girl. And not only is she black, but she is an African, like Nigerian girl.
Yeah, like
And
her parents are immigrants, correct?
yes, and both of her parents are.
Oh,
So,
yes.
like that means a little bit more because she
Mhm.
knows from an early age, when you're in first grade, you're 6, 7 years old. So like when you touch on something that for someone like Evelyn, she might have had to experience some things, but not to the extent of OG.
Right. I agree with that. And let me just, I will be transparent. I didn't particularly like OG. She was not somebody that I could ever say that I would ever even have a conversation with as far as the show goes. I know we don't know these people in real life. But I I listened to her when she said this, because at first I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like that's a half claim. And then she started explaining more and more. And you had to check yourself, like, you know what? We sure didn't label Evelyn as aggressive. We labeled Tammy as aggressive, but at the same time, Tammy was like owning it too. She was like, yeah, don't mess with me, sort of thing.
But we did label Evelyn as aggressive. They have done
Did
that.
we?
And
Did
Yeah, the
we?
effect just wasn't the same. Cause
It
when
wasn't.
Evelyn, I
it
remember
wasn't
when
like
she threw that bottle at that girl that did nothing to her. They just were like arguing a little bit here and there.
about Kenya.
Like they sat at the table and she threw those bottles at her and this guy like went to 100 with this girl. And I thought, we're never gonna see her again. But then she was back and then she was back again. And they just always ignored it, swept it right under the rug.
But I think the difference is, and the only thing that I will give to, and I did appreciate Shawnee being honest and saying that if it was, she didn't consider it colorism, but she would admit and agree to playing favoritism, which I can understand. Evelyn is one of her best friends. And
Yes.
so at the end of the day, whether if it is right, wrong, or indifferent, she's not going to publicly address her best friend about certain things that you just wouldn't. It's just kind of like, okay, you and your best friend, you do some foul stuff. You don't need your best friend to embarrass you and basically chastise you in front of everybody. You want your
Correct.
best friend to pull you to the side and to discuss that basically just between the two of you because
Hmm.
that is your best friend. Now the difference is that obviously, yes, that's their dynamic. But in addition to it, is that when you have someone making such a strong allegation against you, you don't have a choice but to try to fix it. And the only way I feel like it was fixed is by OG being brought back on to this season. And because outside of that, I don't think that she would have been brought on if she hadn't made these allegations.
They didn't like her from jump.
Yeah,
The one
she
thing that I can
wasn't
say,
like,
like I said, like Tammy didn't hide the fact that she was an aggressive person not to be messed with. Now, she did have a hard time getting rid of that image when she was trying to better herself. But I think that OG thinks that she walks around like she's not, an aggressive person. Like, I understand other people see different sides of her. Again, guys, this is TV. I'm going off of what I've seen. I do not know this woman in real life. She is an aggressive person, which is also okay. Me and Topher just had a conversation earlier about being aggressive and passionate. Like, yeah, I'm labeled as an aggressive person because I'm extremely passionate about things, but there is a very real difference between my older sister. She's a beautiful dark-skinned civil rights attorney. If I get aggressive, then if she gets aggressive. I know, right? If I get aggressive, then if she gets aggressive. And that's just something that I've had to also deal with because like Evelyn was allowed to come back on, we would be giving another chance. Women of darker skin tones, like they don't get these chances. Just like we say about white men, people they give them more chance. Like, oh, he was young, he didn't mean it. Opposed to a black man, where then now he's no good because he went to jail as a juvenile and made a mistake and stole from a store. So I really honestly believe, and especially listening to OG's her childhood story but I heard like she was not ready to hear it. She was triggered so many times by these women. And I think she came on as on the defense immediately when she came on the show. She came on with something to prove. And so I don't think we got to know the real OG. I don't think we got to that side. I think we're getting more to know her now, but it sucks because now she has to unpack all her trauma on national television.
But I
But
feel like that's what you sign up for.
true,
And it
but I wish
sucks
we would have
because
got to know her first before we had to unpack her poor childhood trauma.
I'll be honest, I feel like we would have gotten to know her a little bit better if Cece hadn't been involved.
True, which is also weird.
She said that before she even got to meet the girls, they were on the other side of the door, and Shawnee didn't even care to meet her. She just said, let's not and say we did. So she already knew from the door that she wasn't going to be embraced by the group. So she did try to maybe mimic the other group members, try a little hard to fit in with the
And
group because they didn't give her a chance.
Unfortunately, with some Black people, you do have to kind of usually go that extra mile, and you do have to do things a little bit differently to be seen.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of things that she has done that basically continues to do on the show, she does them to be noticed. And they unfortunately look at it for like her asking for a moment. But
yeah,
some of these people don't understand. Like, Amanda and I were talking, and a few other people were talking about a situation that me as a Black man that I experienced yesterday. And if I had responded the way I could have, still right now wanted to, it would have never looked the same if it would have been Amanda who would have done it, or if it would have been like my wife is white. So if she would have responded, it would have been looked at completely different. And that is what sometimes, even within our own community, we forget because we all fall somewhere different on the melanin spectrum. So, like you have dark skinned people and they automatically label you as this, that, and the other. You have people who are more like our shade, and then they label you one way, but they still know that you can have the ability to be labeled as the darkest person on the spectrum. And then you have lighter skinned people like Amanda, and it's almost like a slap on the wrist, and you get that pass. And I think that is where her frustration comes in at, is that anybody lighter than her has always been given that slap on the wrist and given that pass. And that is where it's not fair. And she has some allegations that can be justified.
She absolutely does. And I really think that in a sense, I need somebody to work with OG on how to portray what she's feeling. Cause I think she is so hurt still, not even just by the girls, by like childhood stuff, that she's still not being heard properly because of the words she's using, because it's so set in emotions. So I wish that there would be somebody who, like, I think Kristen really did give it a good try. Cause
I do too.
I was on the fence about Kristen for a little bit because she kind of could be wishy-washy. Like, I didn't like how she went back and like called
Kristen is
Evelyn.
very wishy-washy. Yeah.
No, Kristen, she has like that like sweet girl mentality, but she does definitely wants to fit in. She wants to fit in. She wants to be in the group just like the rest of them. So I feel like she understands and wants to be nice to OG, but not too much, because then Evelyn might be mad. I definitely think she does that. So I'm on the fence.
She even does that between her with her relationship with Jen.
Yes. Oh Lord, yes. So Kristen is very wishy-washy for me. But I honestly think that sit down, I really think that she tried to see her point of view and to see how even she had done it as well. I really think she gave it a good effort. And OG was
Did you see the whole interview?
Yes, I did. I like what Jackie said. Jackie actually
me too.
Me and Jackie have a love-hate relationship too, but Jackie said, she said that she's like, and OG is not in the emotional state to hear that right now. And I was like, she's right. She's really not. OG is being forced to talk about this sooner than she was ready to address it. I
Yeah.
really honestly believe that. And I think that's horrible because you know me and like, you know, people actually being true to themselves and honest. If you're not ready to talk about it, I don't think that you should have to just because
Yeah.
television said so or the world says, oh, well, no, explain this because I might be feeling that too. And so then it gives these bad um conceptions of what's actually going on. It's not helping. And I want OG to help because she like you said, she has very, very valid points. Very valid points. Because when she first said that, I was like, that's bullcrap. But then she starts saying examples, and I'm like, nah, they surely weren't scared to be on the stage with Evelyn. They surely wasn't scared to be on the stage with Tammy. Like they sure Tammy, what I'm scared of Tammy. Like honestly, what they were, I think that they were intimidated by OG, not only her stature as far as she playing football, she worked out, she clearly has strength, that's, you know, undeniable, but honestly, she was setting who she was unapologetically, strongly, and how dare me come on this show and speak authenticity without recognizing that portion of it, because that is threatening to people who haven't dealt with their own stuff. And OG was solid. Like, I'm going to be proudly African. I'm going to proudly walk around in my features. I'm going to proudly walk around who I am loudly because this is a part of me. And
Yes.
that made them very uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable watching her, which is why she was not one of my favorites. And when she made these accusations, it caused me to have to sit with myself and admit these horrible truths that I actually had been thinking because she really didn't do anything. I will honestly say she is brutally honest.
Yeah, really all you have to do is rewatch it. Because at first I thought maybe they were just saying that because she is a football player, she is
Mhm.
you know, she is a muscular female.
Yes.
But if you look back at it, like the Toji comment, like that was first, it was hilarious, but like everything else after that was just very disturbing. Like they
Mhm.
called her ugly, they called her mannish, you know, they were like, "Arr," you know, like they did exactly how they did Michelle Obama. And I was just like, they really
Mm.
just
That's a
showed
good
this like as
point.
if this isn't 2020 and we know what's going on these days.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And
Like
the
it was
sad
just
thing
like in
is,
our face. Like it was clear as day. And I think it was mainly the fans more so than OG, because OG didn't go on the reunion and say, "Oh, you guys are being colorist." It was the fans that were like, "Okay, they segregated her after bullying her the whole season. They didn't even give her a chance to talk." You know, so it was
Mhm.
like really the fans that were just like, "Hold on, like we know what's going on."
I think that, and so like when you like do that, and so when all of that happens, you have situations to where Evelyn posted whatever in her story and basically used the monkey. And that is from there is when OG called her a colorist and a racist. Now, Evelyn said that it had nothing to do with OG. And unfortunately, she hasn't really provided the world with anything to really like back it up and say that it was pertaining to something else. But if we know anything about Evelyn and some of the other cast members, we know for them to be petty. But then when you also look back and you rewatch and you see how basically they refer to her features,
Mhm.
how else can you expect for her to think and feel? So she's going to, at the end of the day, black people know that when you refer to them as, especially a female, when you refer to them as manly looking, muscular, you're calling them a monkey, you're calling them a gorilla,
I
something of the
agree.
sort. And that is where Evelyn, during that time, I don't care what she could have put up there, she needed to pick something else because whether OG took it and ran with it, but at the end of the day, the you knew the hurt that was already there. You knew what
Correct.
the allegations had already been made against you, and then you decided to go ahead and do something like that. And but it also sucks is because like as fans, we're used to them being real and open and honest with one another, but we're also used to their pettiness. And
Mm.
so we don't always know how to take it. Like, you know, when Evelyn was when they were on that vacation and she was like, I got A plus credit, you know, this, that, and the other. And when she said that, it was a petty comment. And like, was it even necessary? No, because
No.
it wasn't. But like, if you are a fan of Evelyn's, it was like, okay, like it was a laughable moment, like cool, we get it. But like in that whole situation, it was jabs at OG to basically say that she could never amount up to you, your light skin, your long pretty hair, this, that, and the other. And that's how it was taken. And that's what people don't realize when they say things, is
Right.
that if you've never been in that person's, my favorite quote these days is that if you've never walked in a person's shoes, you can never tell them how to lace them. And that is OG's situation right now. None of those women have been in her shoes,
Correct.
maybe in similar situations, but not pertaining in this group to where they can really say like they were singled out or had all these other things, said about them and made out to be this bad person. They can't really say that within this group to her level.
Yep. I had to sit with myself when OG said, she was talking to Kristen about their facial features, because Kristen was like, we're about the same, tone. And she had to be like, and I love how educated OG is, because
Oh, yeah.
I had to look some stuff
Yeah,
up.
I don't think Kristen was expecting that.
She was not. She was not.
They didn't get to know OG either.
And there you go. They did not get to know her, because she was like, but you're of a Western African, features. Look at my features. And I was like, man, does that make a difference? And it absolutely does. And then here we go. We have to unpack this. What has the world taught us? That wide noses, dark skins, and OG's muscular features are, they're ugly. They're something to be ashamed of. They're not pretty. They're not valuable. When really we don't know the ancestry history behind it. We don't know, what they did, what they were working for. These are like warrior tribes and things like that. The work that they had to do, you really have no idea. So why are we deciding, what's pretty, what's ugly together and whatnot? You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll say this all day with skinny women and big women, right? It's about time to start having these conversations with all melanated people on all spectrums. When I did the episode about being, biracial and people seeing that aspect of it, I think it's very important for people to also see the aspect of walking around being dark skinned, because that's something that I will never understand. I've admitted several times that my light skin comes with privilege, because white people get very offended when I say, check your privilege, or like, you absolutely have privilege. No, I don't. I worked hard like everybody else. Is like, pause. Nobody says you didn't work hard. We don't. We do not have to go through the same things that people with darker skin have to go through. Like, I get a pass. And here's the thing. They expect me to be aggressive, but because they expect me to be aggressive, it's like, all right, she's going to do it once. We're going to have to know that's something we probably going to have to deal with, her being aggressive. Now, when a darker woman gets hired and they're like, oh, she should just be lucky we hired her. She should be on her P's and Q's at all times. And that's what I don't like. It's not like they get to be real humans, like, who make mistakes, who get frustrated, who have things that's going on, who may go out of pocket. Nobody gives them a chance to come back and be like, listen, I may have overreacted. Nobody gives them that chance. And even if they do, they don't hear them. They don't care. You should have been lucky that we gave you that chance, that spotlight, that you should have been on your best behavior 100% of the time, because you don't have to be where you are right now. And that's so unfair. That is so unfair. It honestly,
And I think that people and within like the Black community, I think it's not that we forget about it, but I think that we ignore it. And we ignore it because most Black people, when a lot, especially like years and years ago, but like, you can't sit on your knees because you don't want your knees to be black. You can't do this because you don't want them to do like you
don't stay in the sun too long. You'll get too dark.
Yeah. And so it's like,
I don't like it.
even within our own community, we do and we say things like this, but then we don't always know like how it's going to affect that person. And, like my wife will make fun of me because if it's summertime and if the sun is if it's beaming down, I don't care if I look like somebody's 95-year-old grandpa. I will wear the biggest sun hat and go wherever I got to go. And she'd be like, what in the heck? And I'm like, okay. Like, I just like, it's not for me. But I don't, is it because like I don't want to be too dark? Is it, like, is it because like I don't want to be like not accepted on like in my professional, you know, work life? Like, and so she's like, why do you do it? And I didn't have an answer for her other than it's like, it's just always been said that it's not normal. Like it's not
Mm.
okay to be like this dark or this black. And we're told that as kids from our parents, grandparents. And so,
I'm so triggered.
and how OG looked at it is, I've been dealing with this my whole life. And so I'll be damned if I let you women do it to me. And
Exactly.
especially when it's within my own community.
In front of the world.
Exactly. So, I mean, at first, I'm not going to lie, I was completely against it because I was not a fan of hers. And I am a fan of Shawnee and Evelyn. And I'm a fan of the show itself just because we've seen them all go through so many ups and downs. But when you point out specific things like this, like right is right and wrong is wrong. And if
Right.
it had been a white person, now granted, obviously Evelyn is, Afro Latina and she grew up, in Queens or the Bronx, and everybody around her was a person of color, so to speak. But if this had been years ago and if Susie had said it and if Susie had been the one doing it, how would it have been looked at?
Ooh,
Would they
that's
have
a good
cared?
point.
Like what would have happened then? Or if this had, you know, been just like, a white person and not even be down like Evelyn, you know, but like white person, white family, the whole 9 yards, if they had said it, they had done it, would it have been looked at differently? And so, and that's what we have to remind ourselves, like we can all make room for improvement. It's just that at first, you at least have to be made aware of your mistakes and then you have to be held accountable. And if you're not going to hold yourself accountable, somebody has to.
I think my problem also is that Evelyn is so dead set on not addressing OG and not saying anything to her that bothered me. And she was like, I want
Yeah, this
nothing
whole
to do with
season.
it. I was like, no, no. If we're gonna make this woman come on and relive her, don't huff and puff about Evelyn. If we're gonna make this woman come on here and relive her traumas and speak her truth and have us as a black community actually check ourselves, Evelyn needs to do the same. She needs to give everybody else the same respect because it's her who's under it. You know what really sucks though? Is that Evelyn was one who was under attack, and the allegations have shown to be, have some substance to them, and she's not the one speaking. And yet we're still talking about OG and, oh, she did this, she said this, she wasn't listening to Kristen. I still hear OG getting criticized. I'm not hearing
Right.
Evelyn getting criticized.
Right.
No,
And
I
like
mean,
you
I can happily say that what she did is wrong. Like the Toji comment, I personally didn't even think it was funny. I was like, all right, I mean, like,
I ain't gonna lie,
I
I
thought
thought it
that
was
was
funny, but
hilarious.
I thought it was
could the
funny because it
girl,
was cute.
That was so funny.
I was
No,
like, could the girl buy bigger
OG,
shoes
that was
or
hilarious.
yes, it was.
something? But like, I also feel like people, Evelyn doesn't know how to approach it, and I think that that's the biggest thing is because
But
how
she
Evelyn
said,
looks at it is that she's not a racist, and
okay,
that's
but then she
that's
needs to
all that
address the
she's hearing.
colorist. And
But
this is
it's the same thing, and I was like, I was talking to my friend Keisha about it, and I was like, it's the same thing if you bring up white privilege to white people, it's a trigger, and it usually automatically gets shut down, and the conversation is over. They don't want to talk about it anymore, or if they do, they rebuttal and say like, well, what about black on black crime? What about this? What about that? And that
Or they
is,
say I have a white friend or a white
yeah,
girlfriend or
yeah.
something.
And
Yeah.
so
No,
like,
I mean black friends or
yeah, I knew what you meant, but yeah, and so, like,
That's all right.
that is what happens, and that at the end of the day, that is what Evelyn's response has been. But then we also don't know the other side of it to know like what Evelyn's attorney has suggested for her to do or say because she filed that defamation of character lawsuit against OG. So I understand that she has to walk into this carefully, and OG can be more open about it because it is something that she experienced within the show, within this group. But Evelyn only filed that because she said that she started receiving death threats and things like that because she was being labeled as a racist. And sometimes Black people, if they hear colorist or colorism, it automatically they assume, hey, like, you know, you're just a racist. And at the end of the day, Evelyn's still not Black. Now, her grandfather was part Black, but that doesn't make you Black. You know, like I understand where she comes from and all that, and I can give credit to all of that, and that I'm not dismissing it, but you have to understand the fact when you are speaking to a real African woman and compared to your Afro Latina self, it's not going to be looked at as the same.
I
So,
had
if
to deal with that
anything,
with
just
it
own
myself.
what you said and move on.
I had to deal with that within myself. Mostly because I wasn't being accepted by either side, and I wanted to, understand. I didn't want to feel the oppression that Black people feel, but I wanted to understand, and I really had to come to terms with I will never understand what it feels like to be a dark skinned Black woman, even if both of my parents were Black, and I was just had fair skin. My lighter skin, both my parents, I still would not understand it because there is such a difference. It's not anybody's fault. I'm not ashamed of it anymore, but I use it to advocate and do what I can for my gorgeous dark skinned Black sister. You can ask my husband. I'm very sensitive about my Blackness. Like, I do not like when people they play on that because I'm proudly what I am. I am biracial, but the world absolutely 100% looks at me as just being a light skinned Black person. Nobody looks at me and assumes my mom is white. I don't know why. I absolutely think it's apparent, but it's not. So I just had learned to embrace it. And Angela, I want to know if there was like times back in school, just because I can think of a few moments where I have, middle school, even high school, probably have thought that a dark skinned woman was just aggressive, or I would approach her more aggressively so she wouldn't be aggressive towards me first.
Or
Um,
so you could be accepted because that's how you assume that she would be towards you.
Exactly. I just want to know if you've experienced something like that. Cause like I said, I'm guilty of it. I'm not proud of things that I've done, but like Dr. Seuss, y'all, I did better and I moved on with my life to bigger and
I
better
had different
things.
experiences growing up because I went to elementary school. I was in predominantly Black for 2 years, and then I went to. Aren't you from New York, Amanda?
No,
Or-
everybody thinks I'm
No?
from New
Okay,
York.
okay. I just want to make sure so I can tell you like where exactly because I started going to school on white area in Queens and finished middle school and high school there, and it was completely different. Because I remember one time in like first grade, like I'm in a predominantly Black school, there was a mix a biracial girl. She came and like everybody was like wanted to like just team up on her and just like jump on her and stuff or whatever. And it took me a long time to even realize why that even happened. Because at first I was like, why is everybody being mean to this girl? She did nothing. She literally did nothing to nobody. So I witnessed that, and then I went through my own stuff going to a white school, not even from white people, but like just from the few Black students that were there with me. They were the hardest on me. White people were totally confused. Like it was so embarrassing because like they did it in front of the white kids, and white
I seen
students were
that
just
on
like,
my
huh?
show the one time because I went to a predominantly white school and early elementary school as well, and it was the Black kids. It's almost like nope, we had this is our territory. They have accepted us. Y'all have to go. They were not accepting of us at all. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it was crazy to see. They wanted me to team up with them too. It was so stupid. But and then I experienced colorism of my own, like against my own people. From my own people. Um, there would barely be like if it wasn't just me, there would barely be like other Black kids in my classes growing up in middle school and high school. But like anytime there was, like I would always be the main one to get picked on because I was always a darker skinned one. So like I always got put against someone else. Like one year, like there was another girl and she was a lighter skinned girl and they always like made sure like they put her above me every day. They were just like, oh, Brittany's this and that, and you're ugly and Black and midnight and all this stuff. Like totally taking advantage of every second they had, like during class, to turn around and be like, "Oh, you're black as hell," or something, something to try to make me feel bad. And it just all came like from nowhere, and it all just stemmed from like internal hate. Because sometimes it was like guys that were doing that were like darker than me, and they just didn't want to like be the one that got picked on, I guess. So like they picked on me.
You said it was guys?
Yeah, it was really only guys.
I
That's
actually hear
really
more
the
men.
I have said that since our first episode that we have been on here. And I do not understand how black men can tear down black women when your mama is black. So
Exactly. Yeah, they're all of them.
Well,
it,
we went through that in the episode with Marcus. It's in, like she said, they wanted to feel accepted. They wanted not to be picked on.
Yeah, yeah.
I hear more dark skinned black men talk about how unattractive dark skinned women are, and it floors me. It floors me. I'm a very possessive person, and like I said, I have a gorgeous, beautiful, dark skinned older sister. And so that take it personal when you sit here and talk about dark skinned women. I'm like, no, because my sister is freaking gorgeous. I don't know what you thought. Like, what do you mean? And it irks my entire soul. It hurts because you have to be hating a piece of yourself to say those things. Like you said, your
Yeah,
mama.
they wanted me to hate myself so badly. Like it was every day, constantly.
and
And
the
that's
sad
another.
thing is
Mhm.
that black men do that to black women, and then those black women have to raise other black girls, and then they say, well, I can't find my perfect black queen. Well, if you shut the hell up and stop basically putting her down, maybe you could find her.
And I honestly, I think I said this on my birthday live when we was talking about being biracial, that we really, and this goes for any race, color, creed, background, that we need to just teach our kids to love themselves. I don't think that we have to tell people, hey, love that dark skinned girl because she'll go through more than you go through. I really don't think that that's necessary. I think that we should tell them, hey, make sure you love you. You're amazing. Because of their confidence in themselves, they will have no desire to put somebody else down to make themselves feel better. That's my personal opinion. I'm not sure if it's real or not. I feel like
It
Topher
is, because I mean, I was talking to my wife about this a couple months ago about, it's really funny, but like if you do some research, you will find that the when it comes to features on what the world says is attractive, every feature for a man resembles a black man. Every feature of what's considered to be attractive represents a white woman. And it's odd because you have this weird way to look at it to basically say like black women and white men aren't like, they're as if like they're not important, or their features and their beauty is not, it can't be noticed.
I don't know
And
why we keep defining this like beauty doesn't, literally lie in the eye of the beholder. Like, because what you think is attractive, I'm not going to think is attractive. Like, I don't understand this.
yeah, it's weird because it doesn't make any sense. And I feel like we're doing our world and our children a disservice, because when we do things like that, you find situations to where at the end of the day, some little girl, some little boy, white, black, Latino, Asian, Hispanic, they're all watching that,
Yeah.
and they're going to see it eventually. And that is what they feel like they need to be more like in order to be pretty, in order to be handsome. And it's really unfortunate. And I really wish that the world in general can kind of start really moving away from that. Like if we can accept, the body image when it pertains to size and weight, we need to be able to do that same thing and give the same respect when it pertains to color.
Sorry. I'm assuming I got mail. My dog is going nuts. I do want to ask you guys a question before we wrap up, because this is something, and you mentioned it about being in the sun, Topher. So maybe I'll need to ask you, but I would like for you to answer that question within yourself on why you do cover up. Because I turn into like not a horrible, but like an aggressive mama bear when somebody looks at my son when he's playing outside and they're like, "Oh boy, you need to get in this, you need to stay outside, you better get in the shade or something like that because he's getting darker in the summertime. Literally attack them. Like I was like, why would you say that? My baby can absolutely stay in the sun. How about you get in the shade if you hot? He want to go play. Y'all worry about all these kids like being playing video games and all this kind of stuff. And it always is coming from Black people, usually Black family. And I think that that is something that needs to be addressed on all levels, because I was attacking people mostly because, like, don't make my son feel inferior. I was so nervous when I was pregnant the second time, because if I had another girl, my daughter is light skinned. And so I was like, if I have a girl, she very well could come out dark skinned. And I don't want them hating each other. I was like, I don't want that, because there was an issue between my two oldest sisters, one, the darker one, and then my oldest sister, she's light. We had the same mom and dad. And there was an issue there. And it was the family who put that issue there. And I was just like, I don't want this to be an issue. But my son, he's gorgeous and he's dark skinned. So I was already on the fence about it. And I was like, nobody's ever going to make him feel like he's less than. Nobody's ever going to make him feel like he doesn't belong or that he can't be himself, walk around as Black as he wants to be. And so so I know it from a male point of view, but then it's also weird because white people go tanning and everything. And then I get made fun of if I'm, put my winter color on, if I'm too light. So it doesn't make any sense. It's very hypocritical. But Angela, growing up, is that something people told you, or you felt like you had to, like, downplay how dark your skin is because of other people?
A lot of the bullying came from, like, when I would come back to school was usually after the summer months, right? So I would be I get a lot darker in the summertime, and they would just basically like make fun of me because of that. And I didn't see what the problem was. I mean, I still don't, but like I never saw what the problem was when they used to try to point it out. It's like, okay, I'm supposed to be apologetic about it. Like, what do you want me to do about my skin color? Like, feel uncomfortable or hide? What are you wanting from me? Because it's every day. Obviously, you want something from me. You know what I mean? But I never cover up. But I did want my kids to be lighter, just so that they don't have to experience that, because it's just unnecessary trauma to go through. Like, it's just like if you're born with like a birthmark on your face or something like that, you know what I mean? And you have to learn to embrace that. Like, I had to learn to embrace my skin all over again. When I was born, I already knew I was beautiful. As soon as I seen a mirror, I knew I was beautiful. I had to re-embrace that, you know what I mean? And it got easier because I started going to, like, I was not liked at all in my school, my own school. I started going to after school program at a school closer to my neighborhood, and it was predominantly Black, all Black. And I was very popular there for some reason, right? Everybody loved me. Even the staff like would tell me all the time and pull me aside and tell me like how I'm a leader and how the other kids follow me and they love me. It was such a relief to go there and be around people like that look like me, that don't feel as though they have to single me out and point out my skin color just to make themselves look better, or in proximity to the white kids that were there. You know what I'm saying? Nobody felt like that. There was definitely all shades, but nobody was against each other on no light skin, dark skin, or whatever color you are skin. Nobody cared about that. So I don't, and to this day, like, I don't hide from the sun, but I do feel as though like I wanted my kids to be lighter because of my experience with colorism. And they are lighter because of my experience with colorism.
I appreciate your honesty and transparency 100%, because that's real. And there are some people out there who are not being honest with themselves about that. And so that means, like, I'm so emotional. It makes me sad that you got to feel that way. So I'm over here, my heart hurts, because it sucks. It sucks that the world makes people feel like that. Instead of just embracing who they actually are.
I just don't want anybody to make my kids feel like that, so
I understand. Well, I love you so much for coming on here and
Absolutely, yes.
bringing this topic up and wanting to talk about it. You're absolutely amazing. I'm going to put your website up here one more time, you guys. Please go check this out. I'm checking it out as soon as we get off here. Because I want you to continue to be a mompreneur. That is hard to say. And being amazing. And you said you're in Columbus, right?
Yes, Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, I have family in Columbus. I'm down there often. So next time I'm down there, maybe I'll hit you up. We can actually meet up. That would be amazing.
And I saw you with the Ohio shirt. Are you from Ohio?
Yes, I have lived in Ohio my whole life, and this is actually, and it's my own brand. So I have a clothing line as well. But yes.
Yep.
You said you're in Columbus, Ohio?
No, I'm in Canton, Ohio.
We're both in Canton. Okay. Yes. Have you ever ventured your way down here? It's not much. It's okay. Don't.
Columbus is a lot better.
How far is it?
It's like probably, it depends on who's driving, but you know.
It's 2 hours.
Like an hour and a half.
No, it's not far.
That's not bad.
Well, thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate you. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you keep in contact and do amazing things, as I know you are. And again, thank you for being so transparent.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I think that was absolutely phenomenal. I hope that you guys really got something out of it. I know I did. I'm gonna get off here and go have me a nice cry. Cleansing, not as if I'm such a crybaby. But no, thank you guys so much. I really, really, really encourage you guys to reach out. Tell me your stories if you feel inclined to. Again, we're still taking topics from people who have serious stuff they want to talk about. This is a safe space. This is areas that we want to be able to have these conversations with, so people can understand these conversations can be had healthily and you can absolutely be heard and, you know, tell your truth. I definitely think with being authentic comes transparency. So if you're ready to do that or want us to do that for you by just sharing your story, please let us know. And as always, be authentic to yourself and others, and just love you, and the rest will take care of itself. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Are you looking to finally get your podcast started? Or maybe you're looking to perfect the podcast you already have? Well, look no further. Duke's Multimedia LLC is here to help you with all your podcasting needs. We're here to help you grow and learn and make your podcast sound even more professional than you can imagine. Contact Duke's Multimedia LLC via Facebook or Instagram. Duke's Multimedia. Learn, create, produce.